A very good evening and welcome to this edition of the Fourth Estate. Charles Mwangu Shampagi, and tonight we have a very special edition of the Fourth Estate. It's going actually to feature only two journalists in studio, but we're going to try and provide as much time as possible for you, our viewers, to share with us the things that have been happening, and we'll be doing a news roundup and also giving updates on what has been going on of the major events that happened during the week. My name is Charles Mwangu Shampagi. And let me welcome my colleague, Ivan Okuda. Ivan Okuda is a journalist with the Daily Monitor, but he's also a law student at Makerere University. Ivan, always a pleasure to be with you here.
Thank you, Charles. Most humbled and profoundly gratified. Good evening, Uganda.
Onapito Ekomoloit is watching us from wherever you are. We wish you journey masses. Onapito is traveling, so he's unable to join us tonight. And we thought we'd be joined by, or we'd intended to be joined by Alan Kasuja, the guy who used to host this show, now working at the BBC, but I think he's busy with the San Guru, the guy who does all these yoga things
At Munyonyo.
at Munyonyo resort tonight. Starting with major developments, about 40-50 minutes ago, Gulu town was in panic following sporadic shooting that we don't have clear details yet of where the shooting was coming from. It was around the barracks, and most of the people affected are the people at around Peche Stadium. From what we're able to pick now, there were people coming from Peche Stadium. There was a corporate league that was being played at Peche Stadium, and also Eddie Kenzo is supposed to be staging a show in Gulu. So much of the panic was those large numbers of people. But the shooting lasted about 30 minutes. We are yet to get details of what exactly sparked the shooting. There are many theories I'm seeing on social media, WhatsApp groups. But one of the things I'm hearing is people talking about a possible attempt or actual robbery at a bank in Gulu. The details are not yet clear. I don't know what you have, Ivan, about that yet.
I'm very cynical about some of the incidents that we see involving shootouts, especially after what happened in Mbuya not so many years from now, in which we later told by one of the generals in the army that this was actually stage managed to specifically fix some generals who, in the eyes of the powers that be, had either fallen out or were on the verge of falling out. So most times when you have these shootouts, you want to take, especially the official account of events, with a very thin pinch of salt, essentially because...
Thick, not thin, I think.
Yeah, because you, for example, you've got so many events that go unexplained, other than the media reports.
There is a lot. Actually, when you raise that, Ugandans have been watching very closely. Incidents starting right around after election time. An incident somewhere in Kapchorwa, an incident somewhere in northern Uganda, an alleged attack at a barracks. You have now the arrests that have been taking place the other day, roundup. Initially, when the first person called me, when the first information I got about the incident in Gulu was that soldiers were protesting the arrest of their commanders, linked to, in relation with the wave of arrests that the Daily Monitor reported about on Friday. 30 soldiers arrested, and people being picked up here and there. The arrest of people like Michael Kabaziguruka, the Nakawa Member of Parliament, member of the FDC, the arrest of Ola, the Deputy Secretary for Mobilization of the Uganda People's Congress. He was actually arrested in Gulu at 8 p.m. And people saying...
and even a Kano in the Air Force.
Yes, a Kano in the Air Force. And people saying, what exactly is going on? Where does this end? Who is behind this? Is there some serious story behind it? Or is someone trying to justify a situation and say, we have a situation here that we are working very hard to deal with?
Well, it's not a topic I'm very comfortable discussing on air, essentially because it's still a matter of investigation, and I have an interest in the investigation to try and really, scratch what lies beneath the surface, because I think as journalists we owe a duty of care to the public and to this mother nation of ours, to ask the right questions, but also to ask questions that trickle, a bit of thinking on the part of the public. But if you speak to sources here and there, credible sources at that, what the totality of all this seems to be geared at possibly establishing a very good case against possibly some political actors, especially in opposition, because if you have a case that is dry, a treason case at that, you want to do everything you can to push the agenda that somebody is actually involved in treason.
Is that a viable path to take? Because Dr. Kizza Besigye, he's incarcerated. I think now about, he's closing in on 32 days. Yes. Should be about 32 days today, since he was arrested on, today is 12th. He was arrested on 11th of May. My mathematics may not be very good. But he wrote a very long letter to the Chief Justice about his ongoing trial. And he traces it backwards to 2001 and says, look, there has been a sustained effort. And one of the things that stand out that he mentions is his rape trial. No, his trial for rape. And the evidence that was entered in the police station book, which was put in by a lady called Elizabeth Kutesa, who was then the head of the Criminal Investigations Directorate within the Uganda Police Force. And he says this woman committed perjury, lied to court on oath, and court was able to establish that she had actually lied, but then she went ahead to go and work for Interpol. So is it viable? Yes, there is an ongoing trial. The trial proper hasn't started, so we have some leverage within which we can discuss the case without necessarily influencing it. Yes, and someone would urge and say, if things are being done to try and make a case, hasn't history taught us enough over the last 16 years, over the last 15 years, that you need to do things a little bit differently?
I think what shapes the actions...
Not actually, over the last 10 years, to be correct, 2005 to 2016.
What shapes the actions of especially those that run the affairs of this country? Essentially, the motivating factors are essentially power retention and extension of their grip on power. The rest of the 30 soldiers, for example, in Chengera, I did drive to Chengera sometime last week. I mean, this week actually, to essentially try and follow up leads that about 30 soldiers have been arrested. But when you try to interrogate, you start to ask more questions than you can actually answer, and authorities can actually answer. Because one, in as much as the army spokesman confirms that 30 soldiers were arrested, there is not a single name that can be given. The structure in which this...
Maybe for fear of jeopardizing investigations, because there are other people.
Possibly, understandably so. The structure in which these soldiers purportedly lived and were planning an attack on Kampala is by the roadside as we're driving to Nabingo, and not very many meters away from the Total petrol station at fuel station at Chengera, and not so many meters away from the immediate police post at Chengera. So you're talking about a distance of 200 meters, and you're telling us 30 soldiers linked to Dr. Kizza Besigye, linked to David Sejusa, were planning an attack on the city. And the structure has a boutique down, which has another shop down, which has another business activity going on, and there's lots of life going around this place. And so you start asking more questions than one. Is it possible that somebody is trying to put one and one together to pin somebody? And
but wouldn't you think that you need to cut the authorities some slack and say, maybe there's something going on, maybe there's something we don't understand? They might be doing their job in a lousy way, but maybe there's something going on. When do institutions build enough trust and credibility that when they say they're doing something, you owe them what you call the duty of care, or the responsibility, especially as a journalist, to say, maybe there's something going on?
Yeah, you want to give them the benefit of doubt. That's why we ban the midnight candle, really, and really speak with authorities to try and get to the bottom of these issues, because it's not rocket science that there is disgruntlement in the security forces, the people in the police forces, the people in the army, the people in the different security agencies who are not exactly happy with the way promotions are done. They're not exactly happy with the remuneration. They're not exactly possibly even happy with the politics of the day. So that could possibly be one of the leads, that you might have some of those actors getting involved in subversive activities. But my gut feeling is, and I'm speaking from people that know a thing or two, we might be in pre-2021 mode already, because somebody possibly is trying to think, how do I position myself to have a sail-through in 2021? The biggest obstacle for so many people in this country interested in becoming president is actually Dr. Kizza Besigye, because if Mr. Museveni is not on the ballot and you have a genuine election, the only person that has been able to build enough credibility, enough support base within the population is Dr. Kizza Besigye. So if you have a succession plan and you want a particular person to ascend to the presidency, the immediate stumbling block to that plan is this person, called Dr. Kizza Besigye. So I don't know what kind of human being Besigye is, to be linked to 30 soldiers in Chengera, to be linked to subversive activities in the north, to be linked to the subversive activity in the West Nile. And for so many, for all this time, there's been not a credible case that's been put up against him.
There was a similar attempt in 2001 to link him with the People's Redemption Army.
And even the LRA.
Yes, and even the LRA with, I think, James Opoka. Yes, a character called James Opoka. Unfortunately, he was reportedly killed by Joseph Kony when he tried to open contact with Opoka. And I did many years ago, meet some of the people who had been arrested allegedly for having been in the DR Congo. Some of them said they had been sent there by intelligence. Some of them had negotiated certain things and were shortchanged, but others possibly believed there was something genuine going on, and they might have been a part of the effort. It's possible that someone who wants to coordinate some kind of rebellion can actually have contacts in all these areas and can stir up some trouble in different parts of the country. So that's not beyond someone intent on going that way. My only question would be that if someone is interested in that, would they require to take 15 years without acting on a plan like that? 15 years is not a very short period of time if your intention is to take power using that other option, because it is an open option. You can argue about its merits and demerits, but it's an option that people have used to attain an objective. So if someone was interested, you wouldn't try 1, 2, 3, 4 times. You're growing older, you're becoming weak, and then you're thinking, no, let me give it another one more try, then another one more try. But maybe those are questions that will be resolved when government is finally able to present its case to court and argue against Dr. Kizza Besigye and anybody that you believe is associated. It is my understanding that Kabaziguruka has been bonded out. Is that correct?
Yes, he's been bonded, but of course essentially remains a prisoner within his own home. There's lots of security surveillance and presence as we speak now at his home. And is
that real or imaginary? Is there station, are there people camped at his home, visible security? Or?
Yeah, the visible security, including plainclothes officers. I will not go into the details, but well, let's wait for Kabaziguruka's case to come up in court and we see if the state will.
What about Ola? Do we know anything about Ola at the moment?
Not yet, including even the 30 soldiers. There is not much detail that's been let out by the state authorities. So we want to keep our tabs on the story, but also to keep asking the questions that might make the system quite uncomfortable.
Why not the people who are allegedly participating in these kinds of things? Don't we need to ask them questions that make them uncomfortable? Well,
they're simply on the receiving end of allegations raised by government, and it's the duty of government to prove they're innocent until government proves them guilty or they plead guilty. So for now...
Or whoever is prosecuting them.
Yes, so the burden of proving whether they're involved or not is essentially on the shoulder of those that have raised those accusations against them.
Like I promised, we'll be opening our phone lines early for you to be able to share with us what your views and opinions are on the major events that happened during the week. And some of those major events are the reading of the budget, 26.3 trillion. Uganda Revenue Authority, there's some interesting fact there. Uganda Revenue Authority is only able to raise about 11 or 12 trillion shillings. Where does the balance come from? Is it too ambitious? Has it been effectively allocated? can it actually, do those allocations reflect a government's desire to be able to execute and deliver on the promises they're making in the budget speech, especially for the Department of Works and Transport, which is receiving the lion's share of over 3 trillion shillings. Then you also have the allocations, some increment to agriculture, still below the Maputo Declaration and even the amended, the improved Abuja Declaration. You still don't have enough resources going there. And of course, the other sectors will be calling upon you. The number is already on the screen. You can call us and share with us what your views are. But Ivan, the cabinet, and let's start with Kampala.
Just something very small on the budget.
We'll come to the budget in a little bit more detail, yes. and I'm sure a lot of our viewers have been digesting the budget and have significant opinions about it. So I want to preserve that for a little bit later. Okay. But the question of the cabinet, Kampala, does Kampala need 2 ministers?
Well, it could even have 5. It just depends on what.
The number is one thing, but does it need?
It doesn't need
2 ministers.
You don't even need
when
a minister.
You have a powerful executive director with directorships below her and a solid technical team. You don't even need political leadership provided by the Lord Mayor and his councillors.
You don't even need a minister for Kampala, essentially because there's actually almost no such thing as a minister for Kampala. I think the calculation here is essentially to have a minister who can try and whip the Lord Mayor to order, and that essentially is the job for the Honourable Betty Kamya and her.
Isn't Jennifer Musisi an effective whip against the Lord Mayor, given the experience of the last 5 years?
Of course, you don't want to put a technocrat, you know, in the line of fire and to get them soiled so much as to be fighting openly with a political leader.
She's walked through a furnace and survived it. Over the last 5 years, you'd say she's walked through a furnace and survived it. Been able to do certain things, and some Kampalans, especially the elite, think, well, the direction is okay, is good. You can raise questions about value for money and accountability, but the general direction in which the city is going looks like some reasonable direction. You have expanded streets, you have lights that work, and you think the other things can be fixed if Jennifer stays the course she's on.
Of course, I think Musisi means well for this city, and her weaknesses notwithstanding. But the challenge is you're running an institution like SCCA in a very clogged political structure, where populism reigns. You cannot regulate, for example, the border industry. You cannot regulate the taxis. You cannot do so much, because at the end of the day, the president calls the last shots.
Someone on the line we needed to pick. Can I check? Yes. Hello. Hello. Can you talk to us? Hello. Yes. Turn down the volume on your TV set. Let's pick another caller. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, please.
Yes, your name and where you're calling from?
Yes, Amos Potpoto.
Yes, please. What's your comment on the show?
According to the budget which is read, the budget does in relation to the road sector. They have put a lot of money in the road fund, and Kajina herself is telling us that there's no road which is going to be started on during this financial year. So I'm wondering, the money which has been put in the road fund, make road, is going to be to go where? And if I would remind, the president was in Kanungu during election.
Yes.
And said, brought Kajina on the front line, to the people of Kanungu, that the road will start in January before elections.
Yes.
As I speak today, the road is not commissioned. So I surely see that there is a lot of fraud and money will be misappropriated in this financial year through the road sector.
Okay, thank you. Your comment noted. We'll come to the detail of the discussion of the budget in the next quarter. In a moment, just wanted to conclude the discussion on the cabinet and what we started with on the general questions of security. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
On the cabinet and what we started with on the general questions of security.
You need to reduce the volume of your TV set so that you can talk to us. Hello. I think we lost that. Let's pick another caller. Hello. Okay. We'll respond in a moment. If you're calling us, kindly turn down the volume of your TV set so that you can speak to us, and then you can turn it up again once the call is done. But yes, we're talking about Kampala and whether you think the two ministers are necessary, or if any ministers are necessary at all, or if any number could be in Kampala.
Well, I think it would be unfair to strictly discuss whether you need two ministers for Kampala without discussing there's so many other dockets that are simply redundant. You have a minister for veterans now, you have a minister for Karamoja, you have a minister for this and that. So I think in the broader scheme of things, you have a bloated cabinet, 80 ministers, rather than reduce. The president has increased the size. And I mean, you read the whole cabinet list and there's nothing surprising. I think like Mbabazi said in the campaigns, his question was, do you want to change or you want more of the same? And I think the day Mr. Museveni was announced president and the day he swore in, it was a continuation of the old vintage Museveni.
I just received an update from Gulu. The firing or the shooting has resumed. There is quite a bit of panic in Gulu, and from what we understand, the town is in darkness, so it's not clear exactly what's going on. It would be too speculative to begin assigning motive motive and to explain what exactly is going on. What is clear is that whoever is able to make it to their home, or whoever is caught up somewhere and is able to communicate outside of Gulu, is telling us that the shooting has resumed. They say generally the shooting appears to be coming from the direction of the barracks, but at different locations within Gulu town. It's not clear why the shooting is going on. But we'll keep viewers updated throughout the show and of course in subsequent programming on NTV on what is going on in Gulu. And if you're in Gulu and you are listening in or able to give us an account of what is going on, we encourage you to call us and share with us and share with the viewers of the Fourth Estate what exactly is happening in Gulu town. So okay, we'll need to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, hopefully we'll have more updates for you on what is happening in Gulu. And also, let me again encourage any viewers of the show who are able to communicate to us, to call us from Gulu and share with us what exactly is going on there. We'll be right back. You're still watching the Fourth Estate. Tonight we have decided not to invite other people. Honor Peter is traveling, so he's unable to join us tonight, and we're doing a roundup of the news events that dominated the week, and of course also giving you, picking out the major events. One of the most important and one of the major events that are happening in the country right now is a situation which is not yet clear in Gulu, where there's been some shooting. It lasted about 30 minutes, and then kind of subsided. We understand it has flared up again over the last 20 minutes. Shooting has flared up again in Gulu. And someone says, someone has sent me a message and says they have spoken to a very good source in Gulu who tells them that there appears to have been a robbery and some people are trying to rescue their gang members who were caught, I think, behind police lines or security lines. That's just one of the theories. We can't be sure whether that is the theory that will stand when the explanations are given. On another platform, government spokespeople saying this is still a matter between the spokespeople of security agencies. So directly the Uganda Police Force and the Uganda People's Defense Forces should be giving us an explanation, because we're hearing that the shooting is coming from the direction of the barracks, but also at different locations within Gulu town. There was some kind of mayhem near the Peche Stadium, because at Peche Stadium earlier today there was a corporate league that was being played, but also Eddie Kenzo was supposed to be doing, having a show. So there were larger crowds of people going for those, or at those two particular events. And so some of the massive movements is linked to that. And so we'll keep you updated. And if you're in Gulu and you're watching the Fourth Estate, please call us and share with us what exactly it is that you're experiencing, that you're able to hear, or if possible, what you're able to see, what you saw earlier, and what you can be able to share with us. Nteje Asimwe is watching the show, and he says, Charles, the appointment of Honorable Betty Kamya as Minister for Kampala is good news, and for sure, she will diffuse the friction between Lukwago and Musisi. What do you say?
Or possibly increase it, because you see, Lukwago and Betty Kamya, and by extension, the Honorable Ibrahim Samjunganda, are not the best of friends. They've clashed publicly on so many platforms, and Betty Kamya publicly attributes her loss in Rubaga to the Honorable Samjunganda and the Lord Mayor. So I don't know if the president was trying to be stubborn by putting a person like that in a position where they have to inevitably work with the Lord Mayor. So I don't know. We wait to see how the politics plays out.
I have a lot of admiration for Betty Kamya because she's been one politician who's been extremely consistent on the need to federalize the country, to go federal, and reduce the powers of the president. And one of the things Betty Kamya has said consistently is the immense powers the president has to appoint different people. When she begins listing for you, she rolls and rolls and rolls and rolls and rolls and rolls.
With a lot of passion, yeah.
Yes, there's a lot of passion in what she says. What I'm watching out to see from Betty Kamya is now she's one of those presidential appointees.
A beneficiary of the president's
power. A beneficiary of the president's power. How does she navigate that potential conflict situation? Mugizi Jackson of Makerere University says, Betty Kamya has been a leading crusader against the excessive power of the presidency. I don't know if she passed the test by becoming an extension of the same. But something is arguing here. Yes.
To be fair to the minister designate, she's just one person in a very complex equation. You have 80 people, men and women, of different caliber and social status appointed to that cabinet. And whether they can deliver and actually make a meaningful contribution to the country is not a question you can easily answer, because one, it's extremely difficult for any minister in this country to deliver unless the president has given you legroom to deliver. Essentially because the system is such that in many of these ministries, the technocrats wield more power than ministers. They call the shots. The president reaches them by phone, and they reach the president anytime. Ministries like finance, a person like Keith Morgan if you're Minister of Finance, you've got to brace yourself for a permanent secretary who almost has a bigger say than you. Ministries like energy, Mr. Kabagambe Kalisa there. If you're a Minister of Energy, you've got to brace yourself for that all-powerful, almost larger-than-life permanent secretary. So, and because that's almost how the president prefers the system to work, such that there is not a unified movement of troops. I was shocked, for example, when the Daily Monitor did a series of stories on Karoma Dam and the mess that was going on there. And the president instructed the minister to take action, and she convened meetings. And some of the issues that were raised in those meetings, the minister was completely out of, completely not in the know. And she was reading some of the things in the Monitor and asking the members of the meeting to explain about certain memorandums of understanding that the ministry had signed. So ministries are essentially job rewards, if you want, or
no, but wouldn't it be to disrespect the 80 men and women who've been appointed to various portfolios? Because I've met quite a lot of extremely passionate and committed and competent and honest ministers. Whether they are able to do their job or not is a different matter. I have also met ministers who are still figuring out, still excited that they have been appointed, and might spend the next, normally the President Museveni shuffles his cabinet after about 3 years, maybe 2 years, sometimes 3 years. They might walk through the next 2 years or 3 years without figuring out exactly why they were appointed and why they took the job. So wouldn't it be an insult to those honest, hardworking men and women who really think that a ministerial job is an opportunity for them to offer service to the country?
Well, they have very limited options. You see, Charles, the problem is not even competence per se. You can have the finest people from World Bank, you can bring the best economists from Africa Development Bank, you can bring the best scientists and put them in that cabinet. And they mean well. I know many ministers who actually mean well and are serious about what they are assigned to do. But because you see, you are at the level of political oversight, and that's your role. But you cannot play that role if the system down is broken. In the Ministry of Education, for example, they reached a point when the Minister, Jessica Lupo, would essentially not see eye to eye with the Permanent Secretary. Attempts were made to transfer this Permanent Secretary to, I think, the judiciary. The last time the President made that round of transfers. And then there were lobby groups that went to him and at the heat of the campaign and said, why are you transferring this person?
The Permanent Secretary was too powerful to be transferred.
Yes, too powerful possibly too powerful to be transferred. So Jessica Lupo would essentially had no say in the running of the ministry. And that is the case in many of these ministries. It's, possibly you need a conversation on making ministers actually work and deliver. You're not talking about Kenya where...
but we watch and we see the number expand. The National Resistance Movement held a caucus meeting on Friday, and the purpose of that caucus meeting, one, was to discuss or to find a way to, I don't want to use the word, but I'm going to rubber stamp the amendment to allow the president to appoint more ministers than the Constitution permits. The Constitution gives the president 41 ministers, and he can only appoint more by seeking parliamentary approval. Now he has gone, he's burst that limit ever since he became president, because he's never worked within the limits set by the Constitution. Not ever since he became the president, ever since the Constitution came into effect in 1995. He's consistently abused and bust the limit. And
Parliament has consistently approved.
And Parliament has consistently supported him and abated his breach of the Constitution. Now he's done the same thing again. Everybody I'm hearing is excited and discussing the portfolios, is excited and discussing whoever has been appointed and who has been disappointed and who has missed out. No one is talking about the expansion and whether it fits within, whether the ballooning administrative expenditure is meaningful. No one is discussing whether ministers make worth having or not worth having, whether they are necessary or not necessary. Everybody's talking about, and even the caucus, when they met, they have agreed essentially that they will approve the expansion of cabinet, and in an omnibus way, by the way. Most likely they're going to, the eyes will have it when Parliament resumes, I think, on Tuesday. And the other thing is that most of the ministers that have been appointed are not going to go through a rigorous process in the Parliament's Appointments Committee,
which begins tomorrow.
They're going to be passed. So we're not having the serious discussion on what these ministers are supposed to do or whether they can do it.
It's really a conversation of more of the same. You don't expect any magic, you don't expect any miracles from a team that... first, many ministers look at the appointment as a reward from the president, and there's a relationship of I owe you and more than I am here to contribute. I'm told from those that existed before possibly even yourself, Charles, people like Yona Kanyamos, if you talk to them, they'll tell you when Milton Obote appointed you as minister, he first called you, had a conversation, and told you, I have a challenge with this department, I have a challenge with this sector, and I think you're the best person for the job, and this is what I want you to do in this period of time, and I will judge your performance based on parameter X, Y, Z. That doesn't happen here. Ministers get to know they've been appointed, sometimes after phone calls from journalists. People were tracking Mutundwe
I was listening to an interesting story the other day. A ministerial position became available because someone who had been appointed to it couldn't take up the job. And then the appointing authority called someone and said, what do we do for this region? Who do we have? Do we have an option? And then they said they did some of their own background work and then said, we think we can find somebody. Said, are you sure? This one won't embarrass us or won't do something funny. So they did some background check on the person, and then after that, the person received a phone call to say, will you not do what someone else has done or if we make the announcement? And then within a short while, an announcement was made and somebody was minister in the cabinet.
Yeah. So absolutely.
And has served for some time.
The whole system is
we have a lot
faulty.
of phone calls, so let's pick some phone calls and hear what our viewers have to say. Hello? Kindly turn off your TV set so that we are able to hear you. Otherwise, we'll have an echo. Hello? 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 If you intend to call us, please call us. Don't call and hang up before talking to us. Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Charles.
Good evening. Your name, sir, and where are you calling from?
I'm Kamuga Eddie. I'm calling from Zana Entebbe Road.
Yes, please. What's your comment?
I'm not hearing you kindly. Hello?
You're not hearing us? We can hear you, so tell us what's your comment. Hello?
Actually, what I'm saying is,
Yes.
when we talk of, let me talk of the executive director and Elias Lukwago with Betty Kamia.
Yes?
Actually, I cannot think of a person of Betty Kamia to be a minister for Kampala. We necessarily don't need her. Here, the government is suppressing the rule of people, the power of people. Kampala proved the president beyond reasonable doubt that we need Lukwago to be in the city council and do what he has to do. When he went on the State of the Nation's address, he talked of fighting corruption. Several times we are hearing him talking of fighting corruption. And Lukwago is fighting for the same. Then why is he suffocating him? I think Lukwago would have been a good tool for the president's cause. Because if you're fighting corruption, and Lukwago is talking of accountability,
Yes.
so I think you're on the same trend, but at the same time you're doing this, doing that. I don't think the president
Well, there
is
is the
really
place
serious
of
on
politics.
fighting
I don't know
corruption.
where you place the politics in all this. Of course, Lukwago's politics and those who believe or he works with. And there is Museveni's politics and what his intentions are.
I'm not getting it clearly on
I'm
that.
saying there is the place, the center is politics.
Yes.
Lukwago has his politics and those who believe and support him. And President Museveni also has his politics and those he works with and those who believe and support him. And what their intentions are for the city might be to serve their political ends. And so where do you place those political ends?
Leave alone the political end. We are looking at serving people here, Charles.
Yes.
Where are the people? Because we are over 200,000 who voted for that person.
Yes.
And there are two people fighting. We are down here suffocating. So they shouldn't look at their personal interests. They should be serving people. We are dying down here.
Thank you. I think you've brilliantly made your point. Let me pick another caller. Hello? Hello? Yes. Oh, gosh, sorry. Please don't call me. I'm on air. Unless if you're either Paddy Ankunda or Enanga and you're trying to give us an update on what's happening in Gulu, other people should just send a message.
Or the commander-in-chief.
Okay. We have a call online. Hello? Hello?
Yes, good evening, Charles. Sorry.
Good evening, sir. Your name and where you're calling from?
Benedict calling from Mukono here.
Yes, please.
Well done, Charles.
Yes?
Now, my comment is brief.
Yes.
I will wonder why
Mm.
you have a minister for Kampala, you have an ED,
Yes.
you have a mayor, and you have division mayors.
Yes. 5 division mayors.
Yes, please.
5 division mayors.
I'm saying
Yes.
all these people are, these mayors of the divisions are also under Kampala. So I just why we have to appoint a minister for Kampala, yet you have the ED, have the city mayor, who is supposed to be running all those duties. And I wouldn't see why they should have placed a political figure in there just to be in position of so-called minister for Kampala. I really don't know the job description of the minister for Kampala when you have a mayor, when you have an ED, and you have all those people being in position to perform the duties. So for my comment is just that that's wasting taxpayers' money to place a minister for Kampala whose duty I don't even see, and you have the ED and the mayor, so they are just there to clash and serve their political interests. But sincerely speaking,
I think we perfectly are in agreement. You've been having one minister for Kampala who is also taking on other responsibility. And now you have 2 for Kampala. And I'm wondering, really what the people of Kampala need are functional roads. People don't want to suffer in these traffic jams that never end. People don't want to be flooding and disappearing in open drainage and sewer systems. People want to have covered manholes and stuff like that. People want functional street lights. They don't want a minister. They don't want.
Well, I think
2 ministers are that. We need to be taking a break. But let me take a message from Jose Nwabine in Kabola Liantonde, who says, do you realize that whereas in other regions, people ask why their own hasn't been appointed. Here in the central region, people ask why their own have been appointed. I have been hearing how they have been castigating the president for having appointed people like Chikamia, Chiinji, Naduli. He's just wondering what's wrong with people in Central. Nteji Asime got back to us and says, let Ivan shed some light on what I gather that the appointment of elected MPs as ministers is illegal and someone has already sued in court. Do you have information about that?
No, I don't have information to that effect.
Okay. He doesn't have information to that effect. When we find the information, we'll be able to bring it. And hopefully by the time we come back after this commercial break, we will be able to bring you an update from an authoritative source on exactly what's going on in Gulu, who is involved, what's happening, and I have seen some alarmist reports that they are dead. Some people have, there are some fatalities from the Gulu situation. We are not able to confirm that. Maybe the person will be able to get after the break, will be able to shed some light. We'll be right back. You're still watching The Fourth Estate, coming to you live from NTV here at the Serena International Conference Center. And we've been doing a roundup of the news and looking at the major events that dominated news headlines during the week. And of course, those include the announcement of an 80-member cabinet, an expansion from the last cabinet. Things keep growing. You know, we keep extending time, we keep extending numbers, we keep extending new bodies, we keep adding new laws for every situation, for every problem that emerges. You just create another law, so you create another ministry. And if Kampala has been a problem over the last 5 years, you not only separate the ministry that runs Kampala, because previously it was merged with the minister for the presidency. Now you make it an independent ministry, but also appoint a state minister for it. Betty Kamya is getting all the discussion because she's the more known figure, but there's a deputy minister for Kampala.
And also coming from opposition.
Yes, also coming from opposition. So is, by the way, is the president actually putting firmly Kampala into the hands of the opposition?
Well,
you can't appoint a president of a political party the Uganda Federal Alliance as Minister for Kampala, pick a member of the Democratic Party and appoint them Minister of State for Kampala, and you have a Lord Mayor who is from opposition, Arias Lukwago, Subi, closely allied with the FDC but a member of the Democratic Party, and you have all the councillors and all the division mayors and almost all their councillors belong to the opposition.
And majority of the MPs in Kampala opposition.
Yes. No, you had a complete wipeout of the NRM from Kampala. All of them are from the opposition. So you appoint opposition people to serve in your government, but in an area that is hostile.
Maybe he's never considered them opposition. Possibly he's always seen them as people assigned to do certain roles, and their designation was opposition in court. So it's not a very comfortable discussion.
No, but seriously, if you're talking about this from a political perspective, Betty Kamya is no fool. She understands that this presents her an opportunity. It's a leg up. It's a stone that enables her to cross the river, and that river is she stood for presidency. She runs a political party. She wants that political party to grow. She knows that barring an amendment, unless there is an amendment to the Constitution, President Yoweri Museveni is ineligible to contest in 2021. But even then, whether he contests or doesn't contest, President Museveni, after 30 years in power, 35 years in 2021, 75 years or 76 years in 2021, whatever happens, whether he's running again or not running again or putting someone else, people need to begin thinking of post-Museveni. And Betty Kamya is in a very good position to think post-Museveni more than Museveni would think.
Actually, you have to sympathize with Betty, Charles, because post-Museveni Uganda is most likely going to be extremely unpalatable for people like Betty who have essentially...
Why do you think so?
Because, the dynamics are such that Museveni outside, NRM without Museveni is almost a very, is almost a vehicle in dangerous mechanical condition if you're using it as an, as your vessel in the campaign period. You saw that the statistics can bear me out in Kampala. There was a total wipeout of the yellow bus in Kampala and metropolitan Kampala. So but also more interestingly is if you want to look at the record of people that the president has poached from the opposition, the Honorable Agra Ward, the Honorable Omara Tubo, one for one or two reasons he rarely keeps them, with the exception of people like Alex Nzima, whom surprisingly even after losing the election he still kept as minister. So the attraction is high, but the retention is very low. And
you serve your purpose, and once you have done, you've served your purpose.
Absolutely, and once you take yourself back to the electorate, the chances of being rejected are extremely high, as again the examples of Omara Tuba and Agra will prove. So you might as well cynically argue that some of these people have been given a rope,
a poison chalice.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And they might hang on that rope. So it's again going to be a very interesting space to watch.
Yes, we need to cut this and get some update from Gulu. I understand that we have online the police spokesperson, Fred Enanga. Do we have you, sir? Hello, Mr. Enanga? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, Commissioner of Police Commissioner Fred Enanga. Could you please bring us up to speed on what is happening in Gulu?
Yeah, thank you. There have been incidents of shooting in Gulu, which began at around 8:30 p.m. up to a few minutes past 9. And this follows intelligence that we had actually picked surrounding the presence, the arrest of one called Owola.
Yes.
If you remember very well, this is one of the UPC mobilizers who had been picked following information intercepted after the attack on a detach, where the military lost 8 guns. So we have been following this. We followed the intelligence, and we picked him on information. And he was due to appear actually tomorrow in court. And so we highly believe that this attack actually to preempt and rescue him such that he doesn't appear in court tomorrow.
Mr. Enanga, could you be clear to us and our viewers who was shooting? And you mean there was an attack at the police station where Mr. Ola is being held?
There was an attempt to attack the police station to rescue the suspect. And this is a kind of habit that is actually common with attackers. You're very well aware that the police and military are still following up on the attackers who actually attacked the military detached at Opit in Gulu. And we are still building and working on that information. But what was good out of that was the information
who attacked
we got.
What? Who attacked what? Because many Ugandans are anxious. And many Ugandans, both here in Uganda and abroad, are anxious about the situation because a shooting that lasts for 30 minutes is no simple incident. So who attacked?
Yeah, that is what we are actually trying to verify. The attack occurred at around 9 p.m. And of course, the whole of Gulu town is still quiet. But the police and the military, in their joint efforts, are sweeping the area. So the continued gunshots, you may think, were gunshots arising from the side of the attackers, whom we are yet to establish. But following the intelligence that we had and that we were able to pick, these were a group of attackers who actually carried out an attack on Opit. That is what I'm telling you.
So you're saying this is a kind of rebel activity?
No, that can't be confirmed yet because
I mean the people
nothing.
who have guns and can attack a security facility. I'm imagining what you're not telling us. Is this at a police station? Is it at the military barracks as we're hearing? And who are the sides that we're shooting? Is it the military and the police versus the people you're calling attackers?
I want you to follow me clearly.
Yes.
And I don't want to be diverted. I am giving you information telling you that a group of attackers organized to attack the police station in Gulu to rescue one called Oladan. You get the point, okay?
Yes.
So the police and the military, on getting this information, carried out reinforcements. We secured the police station. And the attack, there was an attempt to attack the police station at 8:50 p.m.,
okay,
which is even dark, okay, under the cover of darkness, okay? And we were able to actually repulse, and there is a police officer and a military officer who are injured, and from there on, the police and military were able to carry out what we call sweeping of Gulu town. You get it. So as I talk now, there is no more shooting, and the situation is under control. What is what's going on? We are trying to verify if at all there are any other casualties and so on, and we shall be able to let you know.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Nanga. Just one more clarification. In terms of any fatalities and injured, could you give us the numbers again?
There are not any fatalities recorded. We just have a police officer, a military officer who are injured slightly, but we shall be able, because we're working under the cover of darkness. You get the point. So
there is no power in Gulu.
The power is there in Gulu.
Yes.
But you cannot have power everywhere. You get what I mean. Just get out of Kampala, there is power, but I mean, there is darkness everywhere. You get to understand the environment under which we work. All right?
Thank you very much, Mr. Nanga. I think that clarifies it. We are receiving also different updates from different people, and we'll appreciate you keeping Ugandans informed on exactly what is going on. Thank you. And from what the spokesperson of the police is telling us is that there was an attack. This means armed people who are not members of any regular security force who attacked a security facility, in this case, Gulu Police, to try and rescue a suspect. And he names that suspect as the Deputy Secretary for, the Deputy National Secretary for Mobilization of the Uganda People's Congress, Ola, who was arrested the other day. Initial reports said he had been kidnapped off the street until the police clarified and said they were the ones holding him. But I find Nanga's report, as much as it's a very important update that he's given us, quite curious. What we're hearing is that the shooting initially lasted about 30 minutes, subsided a little bit, resumed again for another about 30 minutes. People have been fleeing Gulu town, trying to make sure they are out of trouble. And as he confirms that it involves both the police and the military, which where we started from, points something that we will need to keep investigating and following closely. I have seen the UPDF Defense and Army spokesperson, Paddy Ankunda, also issuing a clarification and saying, issuing some comments and saying the situation is now under control. But the speculation about whether this was a robbery or a mutiny or something else, I think is being explained now, is getting lost in the official explanation of the police and the military, from what we're getting, that this was an attack by an organized group. Whether that is what it is, or we need to take that with a pinch of salt, we'll be waiting to see.
Questions we can't
yes, we got to continue asking questions and until we get a clearer position. But the situation seems to be getting where exactly we started from. We need to be ending this show, and I see from our callers and people sending in messages that there was quite a lot of interest in having the discussion focus on Kampala and Betty Kamia's appointment, not much about the other appointments. Were you surprised by the appointment of Betty Amongi?
Not very surprised. I think it was on the Capital Gang yesterday where Mr. Fono Pondo, Executive Director of the Uganda Media Center, made quite interesting revelations. About
this payment of school fees and stuff.
Yes, and who was paying whose school fees, and so to show you, there's a history to some of these things. But I think it's fine. It's within the right to choose whether to work or not with the president, and to choose whether they want to take their level of collaboration with NRM to that official level. I think we would be contradicting ourselves to be advancing the struggle for the freedom of association and expression and all these other freedoms and liberties that we fight for, without and denying those very liberties to people that want to freely associate with the system. Yeah.
Our time is out. We need to be getting out of here. But just to end with an update, if you just joined us, we just had a couple of minutes ago, the police spokesperson, Commissioner of Police Fred Enanga, who clarifies on the situation in Gulu and says there was actually an attack on Gulu police headquarters intended to rescue, according to him, rescue a suspect detained, and this suspect is a political figure, the Deputy National Secretary for Mobilization of the Uganda People's Congress, Ola. I forget the other name.
Couldn't get the other name.
Yes, Ola, who was arrested by the police at 8 p.m. the other night on the 8th, I think. Yes, on the 8th, when the budget was presented. That's when he was arrested, which was the same day that Maiko Kabaziguruka, a member of parliament for the Forum for Democratic Change, was arrested. If that is confirmed, as the police, the authorities are telling us, that this was actually an attack, then all these arrests in Chengera of soldiers, the arrests of the other political heads, and of course the pending trial of Dr. Kiza Besigye will take quite another new kind of context that will keenly keep watching and updating you on. Our time is out. We need to get out of here.
It's going to be a very interesting 5 years.
Oh yeah, the start looks quite exciting, sadly though, but it looks quite exciting, and we'll keep you updated as and when we get more information. Keep watching NTV on the social platforms. NTV social platforms will keep you updated on whatever information comes through, and subsequent programming will give you the latest on what is happening. earlier today, before we came on air, there was sporadic shooting in Gulu. Lasted for about the first 30 to 40 minutes, subsided and then resumed again. Now the police is telling us this was an attack on a security facility aimed at rescuing a detainee at a police facility. And this detainee is a political figure. And
supposed to be appearing in court tomorrow.
He's supposed to be appearing in court tomorrow, and the intention apparently was to get him before he appears in court tomorrow. Of course, we know that the police has consistently, or the government officials have consistently failed to produce Kizza Besigye in court over security concerns. But we'll keep you updated as and when, and thank you very much for joining us tonight. And always, thank you very much for those of you called in and each one of you who participated in the discussion tonight. Thank you very much, Ivan Okuda, for making time for the show.
Thank you very much, Charles, and thank you for hosting the show.
Have a good night.